Yo, my name's Danny and today we're gonna talk about storyboarding. Storyboards are essentially a tool that you would use to take that film idea that's up inside your head and turn it into something that is visually tangible in order for you to communicate that film idea to a client, crew, talent, your wife, your dog, whoever you need to communicate that idea to. And today we're gonna create those here. Today's video is sponsored by one of the GOAT sponsorships for this channel, which is Milnote, an organizational platform for visual people like myself that I use for pre-production and planning all my shoots. There's plenty of different ways that you could go about storyboarding. What I'm gonna share with you today is what I found to be the most time efficient and cost effective way for me to go about storyboarding. So for this video, we're gonna use an example of a video that I already created and I posted on YouTube a couple weeks ago, this Bose Quiet Comfort narrative, commercial, spec project that I did. And we're gonna dive into the storyboard of that specific project. So coming into that full project here on my Milnote board, here I have my storyboard. So we're gonna click the storyboard and here is the finished product of that storyboard. And what we're gonna do today is take this first scene here that's happening in this hallway that kind of ends around this frame here. We're just gonna recreate that in a brand new board. I do all my storyboarding inside Milnote. You don't have to use Milnote. I've done PowerPoint, I've done Google Slides, I've done Photoshop, I've done it by hand before. Sometimes specific production companies that you're working with or the client will want you to create a storyboard within, Google Slides or something, so it's easier to share within their network. If I had my choice every time, I would certainly do it within Milnote. It's the easiest. You have the most tools at your disposal. I do all my pre-production already within Milnote, so it's easy for me to just take what I already have here inside my pre-production, my script, my scenes, my schedule, and just kind of keep everything in one place and translate that over into my storyboard. If you're following along and you like how I'm doing it within Milnote, I'll leave a link down below in the description so you can check it out for yourself if you find that it'll work best for you. So we're gonna come over here. I'm going to grab a new board. This is gonna be our example storyboard for today. So the first step to creating your storyboard is making sure that your script is ready to go. Your script is essentially going to be the words and action items that take place within your storyboard paired with a visual item. So here's my script. Here, I like to break it down into different scenes. We're gonna be working on scene 1, the hallway. And here's my script for that first scene that takes place in the hallway. You can see there's lines, there's dialogue, there's action. And essentially what each one of these lines is going to be is one block on my storyboard. So what I like to do is separate my script line by line, just like I did here. And I'm gonna copy these. I'm gonna go over to that example storyboard that I created. And I'm just gonna paste those lines directly from my script into my example storyboard here. It's here in order already. And all I have to do is put them side by side, just like this, left to right, kind of like you're reading a book, right? So when it comes to the text, I like to keep it simple. I like to have like a simple action item, maybe describe kind of what's happening, someone's reaction to something, a little bit of dialogue. I know a lot of people that like to put specific camera movements, specific shot type, like is it a tight, is it a wide, whatever that is. I like to let the visual cue that we're gonna pair with each of these text blocks do most of that legwork, unless it's, a specific movement that maybe you're not having represented in your visual cue, like massive dolly push-in or something. So I like to keep it simple, remembering that I'm using this to just communicate a simple idea to a broad amount of people. I'm not specifically having to describe the storyboard to my DP, and my DP then has to take this and know exactly what I want per shot. This is your simple guide to communicating your idea. I have my normal action items in regular font just for the dialogue to stand out a bit. I bolded it. You can do whatever you want. If you want to make it, a different color, you can do that. Why don't we just do that now? Why don't we just make all the text or all the dialogue a different color while we're here? Next part's my favorite part. It's finding those visual representation of what each of these text blocks is going to represent, which each action item, which each dialogue, what is that supposed to look like in your film that's in your head that you want to communicate. And there's a number of different ways that you can do this. The most classic and old school way of doing it is drawing or having a visual artist kind of like sketch out each scene. That's extremely, time intensive, can get expensive. If you don't know how to draw yourself, it's gonna look really sloppy and unprofessional. So I like to use reference images from commercials, TV shows, music videos, things that have already been shot. Chances are you're not reinventing the wheel with your shots here. Like, chances are what you're trying to find has already been done before, and there's commercials, TV shows, movies that have already done that shot. So this example here, we're in a hallway where there's essentially a conversation that's happening between two people at lockers. I didn't invent this scene. This scene has probably happened many times. Of course, it's unique to the story that I'm telling, and the dialogue and the actors and the characters, that all makes it unique. But the general scene itself has happened so many different times. So you can use screenshots, you can use resources like Shot Deck, where you can search for different reference images based on, shot diversity, color, frame size, whatever different factors go into the shot. But for my scene in particular, I knew that in a TV show that I really enjoy called Sex Education, there's a ton of scenes where characters are having a conversation at lockers. So the screenshots go to my desktop. I have a folder that I labeled all of them called Bose References. And what I'm just gonna do is take pretty much everything that I've thought might be useful from that scene, and I'm gonna grab them and pull them into my storyboard. So here they just populate right into Milnote. So the character from Sex Education, that's gonna be character left, is gonna be Nick, and the character camera right is going to be Sophie. So Nick's shocked. This works great. Great reference. He has a shocked look on his face. Camera is pointing directionally into the lockers, which is what I wanted. Tonally, lighting, this works really well. Sophie over here, just the opposite. We're doing over the shoulders, essentially. Nick fumbles over his words. I'm just gonna use the same reference shot here. I think people would get the point. It's almost like we're going left to right and they're seeing it frame by frame happening. Here it says Sophie blasts past Nick in a two-shot. There happened to be a two-shot in that scene. So I'm just gonna put that right there. Instant performance anxiety building in Nick's face. Again, I'm gonna take that same shot of Nick's face and just throw that here. Reference images do not have to be absolutely perfect. It just has to generally communicate what you're trying to go after. And this is more perfect than I would usually find, which is kind of why I wanted to use this example. But typically, things like this aren't so perfect. So for example, this first note here, there wasn't a reference image that I was finding that was perfect for this one. It's a pretty complicated one. There was a shot in a movie that I filmed called I Think I'm Sick that I thought, might work in this case. So I took that screen grab from my movie, I Think I'm Sick. And it's not perfect at all, but it kinda gives you a relative idea of what I was thinking in terms of composition. So that's our first scene. I'm gonna actually change our background here to black because I like it to look like it's playing. Another quick thing that I like to do to make my storyboards look a little more visually appealing is I like to make all of the images the same aspect ratio as what I envision the final output of my video to be. In this case, it's 235:1, which is a little more widescreen CinemaScope. So before I input them into Milnote, I'll usually just Photoshop all my images quickly into that same format so they line up all really cleanly. So we're gonna come back into our storyboard that's finished, and you can see how it progressed left to right, frame by frame, and it looks like you're watching the finished piece. So let's actually watch the final product of this spec project that I shot and see how our storyboard essentially matches up with what we actually ended up shooting.
Hey, Good luck tonight. I'll be there.
Cool. If you...
Not bad, right? Like it's not perfect. There's different cuts that ended up making into it due to the edit and different things that happen on set, but this doesn't need to be perfect. This doesn't need to be exactly how things work out. So, you know, obviously I have this thing fully fleshed out, a full storyboard. You can add music where music comes in here. It looks really pretty. It looks like you're watching the film frame by frame, and it's really simple. Once you have it done, with Milno, it's so easy to share it. You can either share a read-only link, you can add people to edit with you, or what you can do is you can export it into a file of whatever you want. I like to export it as a PDF and email a PDF over, and that always ends up looking really nice. So, I mean, that's how I storyboard. It's just one of those aspects of the filmmaking process that you continue to get better at the more you do it, just like filmmaking as a whole. You know, the more you go out and make things, the easier it'll be for you to visualize what your script is going to look like on screen. The better you get at that visualization, the better you'll get at sourcing your reference images and communicating your projects to whoever you need to communicate it with. So if you have any other questions about storyboarding, leave them in the comments below. And if not, you know, I'll see you on the next one. I love you. So I decided to also attach a PDF of that full storyboard from the Bose commercial that you could download for free if you want. The link's gonna be in the description. So if you wanna compare that with the final of that Bose video, you can do that. Thanks.